until you update the agreement and have it re-signed, it will be difficult to have the best legal position, and it will be difficult for you to demonstrate what legal relationship you have with people. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Conscious Counsel podcast with your host, Cory Sterling. That's me. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever it is in the world you're listening to this. As always, my promise in recording this podcast is to help share stories, informations, anecdotes, and insights from my email inbox that will help you protect and grow your wellness business with both confidence and clarity. It's the name of the game. I want you to understand legally what's happening in the world for health and wellness entrepreneurs and what are the important things that you can be doing or that you should be doing legally in order to protect your business. And this week's episode is a really important one, and we're dialing it back and we're bringing everything back to the basics. And I'm going to talk about the importance of having a signed agreement. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, when it comes to contracts, the most simple, basic, obvious thing that you need to do is have your agreement signed. But you would be shocked. You would be absolutely shocked. The types of stories that come into my email inbox, the type of support that I have to offer my clients when it comes to the simple, basic things about law. And the most simple and basic one is making sure that the contract is signed. So in this week's episode, I'm going to tell you a little story of something that I just went through with a client. And you're probably not going to believe it, but it's true and it really happens. And this is why I sit down to record these podcast episodes so that you know the mistakes that other people are making and that you do not have to make those mistakes yourself. Now, one really important piece before I talk about, because I can't really make a whole episode about, hey, you have to sign your contracts, but I want to talk a little bit about legally why it's so important to make sure that the agreements that you have and that you're using reflect the latest version of the relationship you have with your clients, right? So it's really, really important that as things change in your business, let's say you have a bunch of employees and you're changing the expectation, the roles, what it is that you're doing, how you're allowed to do things. Anytime you make a significant change, the best legal practice is to update your employee agreement or update your employee handbook, which is really important to have as well, and just have people re-sign it. And there's some fear that I always perceive in my clients where they're afraid of asking people to re-sign a contract, but it's really easy. Firstly, you understand that the path to freedom and the avoidance of legal problems or headaches is by having people sign a contract which reflects the latest relationship that you have with them. And just like you should be inspired and stoked and excited about this, because anytime you're getting someone to re-sign the contract, it's like, oh, it's like a software update. It's the latest version of the relationship. So I was going through something with a client of mine who has a Pilates studio with a whole bunch of instructors, and they realized that there was a part of the job they were asking people to do. It was sort of unnecessary, and now they want to eliminate it. But not everyone's really been following the new rules. So the question I had to my client was like, okay, well, did you update your employee agreement and the employee handbook, and did you have people sign that? And the answer was no. And they're like giving me a whole backstory about whatever it is, how they're so frustrated that people aren't listening. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, it's really, really simple, and this is all that you have to do. Firstly, become a Conscious Counsel Plus member so that we can take care of all of these updates and revisions without any extra cost to you. And then secondly, update the agreement, send it out to your staff. Hey guys, as you know, we've made a change. This is the latest version of the employee agreement. Here's DocuSign, DocuHub, whatever it is. Please, everyone, please have your revised signed agreement done by Friday. Then it's done. Then if someone's not listening to you or not following what it is that you're creating in your processes and your policies and your systems, it's really easy. Hey, the latest version of the employee agreement says X. You signed the agreement. You keep doing Y. How can I support you to make sure this doesn't happen? Or just so you know, I will not be paying you if you continue to do things that are not in the scope of services. So that's like one story of something that I went through where we're talking about updating agreements and my client had a lot of resistance to it. And I'm like, it's not that hard. You just create a very simple process for updating contracts, having a software that you use that sends updated agreements. People receive an email, your staff receive an email, they click, they sign the button, it's finished. And then any issues you have about it are taken care of. So when it comes to updating agreements, really, really important. You always have to remember that until you update the agreement and have it re-signed, it will be difficult to have the best legal position, and it will be difficult for you to demonstrate what legal relationship you have with people. So the story that I'm sharing has to do in the employee context with someone who changed the responsibility and role of the employees, didn't get them to re-sign the agreement, and now is frustrated and doesn't want to pay them because what they're doing is part of their old job, but legally the relationship they have is part of the old agreements. So that's one example. Another example, straight up, you're not going to believe it, but it's true. I have a client, Conscious Counsel Plus member, has purchased packages of agreements from us. We support this client. We love this client. There's a lot of things that are always going on in the business. And so of the Conscious Counsel Plus members, this is probably a client who I have a much more intimate relationship with. I've spent a lot of time speaking to this person. I love them. I want to see them succeed, and I love supporting them. There was an issue about an annual membership purchase for this person's studio. It's a yoga studio. And the person did something outside of the scope of the agreement and now wants a refund. Okay, cool. Everyone who's listening, you know the first question that I ask whenever this happens. My first question always is, okay, cool. Can you please send me a signed copy of the membership agreement? And the response I got from my client was, the agreement has not been signed. And I was like, okay, cool. If the agreement has not been signed, our options are limited. And now we're talking about thousands of dollars for an annual membership refund request, which legally this person has no right to it, but they actually are going to be able to have a right to it because the agreement never got signed. So as simple and basic as this is, and for some reason I always get resistance from clients about getting things signed. They want things done a certain way. It's just like basic. Awesome. Make it really easy for people. Do a little bit of research on the internet. How can I make a checkout process as simple as possible? Anyone before they give you money has to click, I agree to these terms. Those terms have to be hyperlinked. And then when and if an issue comes up about a refund, about behavioral expectations, about updating roles, about new services that you're offering in a waiver of liability, whatever it is, you need to have the signed agreement. And in this case, it's frustrating for me. It's much more frustrating for my client, but there's just part of me that doesn't understand, like, okay, how do you invest all of this money to get the agreements, to have the membership, and then not even making sure that people are signing it, which is, I can't do it. It's not my job to make sure people use the agreements we draft. It's like bring a horse to water, whatever the expression is. But it was just something to me that was absolutely shocking. But in addition to being shocking, I think it's worth just recording and sharing with everyone the importance of having the actual agreement signed. So in this week's episode, I'm talking about 2 experiences that I had with clients in this past week. One of those experiences had to do with a client who is updating terms of an agreement, but did not get the updated version of the agreement signed. And the strongest legal position you're going to have is going to come from a signed contract. So if you have a signed contract, great. The signed contract should reflect the latest terms that you have with your clients, with your team, whatever it is. And don't spend 10 minutes on ChatGPT and be like, hey, what is the best way for me to build a system to get people to consistently sign my contracts as I update them? And the answer's there. We know the answer's there. The second story that I went through with one of my clients was that they purchased the contracts, but they're not signed and they're not actually using them, in which case my hands are tied. So in this week's episode, I just sort of wanted to bring it back. I wanted to come back to a really, really simple, basic concept. And that's just like, A, make sure that your agreements are actually being used and getting signed. And B, if you're updating the relationship you have with people, whether it's your staff, whether it's your clients, whether it's your business partner, make sure that you update your legal agreements as well to reflect the current relationship. Because that gap between the current relationship and the last agreement signed can leave you vulnerable and not protected. So as always, I share all of this information with love. I hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions or need any support, just find us on Instagram @consciouscounsel, shoot us a message, and whatever it is that you do, make sure you work with a lawyer who loves you. Have a wonderful week. Peace out. Peace in the world.